Welcome back. We are here to finish our unfinished business, and we were talking about moon. Moon, we discussed moon in first house for Aries to Libra. Now we are continuing our discussion for moon in the first house from Scorpio. From Scorpio to Pisces. So, see, first of all, coming to Scorpio as the first house. Now, Scorpio being the first house is not as much harmful as Moon being in Scorpio, because Moon over here is debilitated. That means Moon does not feel appreciated in the sign of Scorpio. Now, why is that so? Because Scorpio Mars is different than Aries Mars. Aries Mars is more about hard work, is more about giving your internal energy towards something you want to pursue. But the Scorpio Mars is slightly asuric in nature. Like the energy, the warmth is more into hyper impulsive behavior, or let's say anger, or sometimes rage. Okay, so impulsivity is more in Scorpio rather than in Aries. The Aries utilizes the inner strength in growth, whereas Scorpio Mars is utilizing its energy more into damaging factors. So moon over here becomes slightly self-destructive. Okay, so your thoughts might be self-destructive. You might have some suicidal thoughts if the moon is not placed good. If the Mercury is not placed good, then you might get some suicidal thoughts. Okay, so self-destruction and self-criticism comes a lot when moon is situated in Scorpio. Now, being the first house, see, first house is all about your head. So, being the first house, moon is on your head. But still, even if moon is on your head, it being in Scorpio is going to give you enormous thoughts of possessiveness, self-criticism, and all the negative types of thinking. Okay, that's why it is debilitated in Scorpio. But in the first house, it is yet more dangerous, because in your physical manifestation, it is going to be troublesome for your body, health, hormonal balance, especially your hormonal balance. Okay. Now let's see the 7th house from Scorpio. Okay, so where moon is giving drishti. So 7th house from 8th house is 2nd house, that is Taurus. Now this is kind of a saving factor. Okay, because what your mind is desiring is unconditional love from your spouse, or say emotional support from your spouse, or you can say emotional strength from your spouse. Okay, so the first thing your moon needs is emotional strength. Okay, so always remember, if a Scorpio ascendant is there and moon is placed in the first house, what does it want from the spouse? From the spouse, the person wants emotional strength. Whenever the person is feeling down, or he or she is not happy, they are feeling some emotional or mental distress, especially emotional distress, void of emotions. Usually in those durations, they require people, or especially their partners, to be a part of the solitude and fill up their emotional void. Now talking about 4th house from the 8th house is going to be Aquarius. Now, Saturnian lordship in the 4th house is usually not good, because see, Saturn's lordship in the 4th house usually gives you sorrow in your home. Now, depending where the sorrow is coming from, usually the sorrow comes from one of the family member. But if you see, moon has its Digbal place from the 4th house from it. Okay, so we see the 4th house from the moon is Aquarius, whose lordship is Saturn. So over here, wearing a moon will always nullify the sorrow effect in your family. But yet again, it might create some internal conflicts, internal self-doubt into you. Okay, but on the other hand, it may reduce the sorrow coming in your family. Usually, you have to check the position of Saturn to see from where the sorrow is coming. Either the house indicates it, either the house lord indicates it, or either the Rashi indicates it. Okay, but again, the placement of Saturn defines from where the sorrow is coming, and accordingly, the remedy is set. Now, if you see the 8th house from the moon, where it is more discomfortable for the moon, is number 3, that is Gemini. Now, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and when we talk about Gemini being the 8th house and Taurus being the 7th house, so 7th house is your spouse, and Mercurian sign in the 8th house after the 7th house means your brother-in-law and sister-in-law. So your mental balance would be too much of tiresome because of your brother-in-law or sister-in-law, that is the brother and sister of your spouse. So it is very likely that you take into consideration that whenever you are conjoining, meeting, or having some discussion with your brother-in-law or sister-in-law, you don't get into mental arguments. Okay, because psychologically I would say that you both have a total different mindset, and this might create disputes between you. Now again, we have to check how the Mercury is placed. If the Mercury is placed in retrograde or it is debilitated, you might not have any issues. But if Mercury is placed direct or exalted, you might have many issues. So we have to see reverse in this scenario. Okay. So take into consider where your Mercury is placed and see whether you are getting benefit or whether you are getting loss. And if you want to repair this, there is a stone called selenite. Okay, and you don't have to wear the selenite, you have to make your spouse wear the selenite in the neck, and you would be benefited from it. But make sure your spouse does not have debilitated Mercury or debilitated moon. Okay, so now coming to the ninth house as ninth Rashi as ascendant, that is Sagittarius. So for Sagittarius ascendants, moon being in the first house is also good, also bad. Okay, so the good thing is that you have Gajakesari Yoga, an indirect Gajakesari Yoga, because the ruler is Jupiter. Now Jupiter being the ruler sign, moon placed into it is creating disputes in case of your partnerships. Okay, there might be a third person involved in your relationships, always, who is disrupting your mental issues. Okay, now how to find out? See, you have to see the 7th lord. First of all, what do you need as a Sagittarius ascendant? Moon is sitting in the first house of Sagittarius ascendant. So Sagittarius ascendant is all about knowledge gaining, core values, ethics, morality. Okay, and they are more into family matters. Okay, so family is going to be a major question for Sagittarius natives. Now moon being in there, which means that there is enormous amount of mental thinking going on in relation to their family, in relation to their home, in relation to their personal family. Okay, and these all thoughts would be related to the well-being of the family. Okay, so you are kind of overthinking about the well-being of your family, or you have that futuristic mindset to organize and plan each and every move to give your family utmost happiness. Okay, now what's the problem over here? See, the 7th house from the 9th house. The 7th house from the 9th house will be Gemini. And whenever the 7th house lord is Mercury, or Mercury is seated in the 7th house, it might give you divorce. Okay, why? Because there is a lot of miscommunication going on, or there is a better communication coming to your spouse from someone else. Okay, now this creates either the division of affection, or it is creating a gap of communication between you and your spouse. Okay, it's either the division of communication because of a third party, or a gap of communication because you cannot communicate, and this is when things get worse. So what is moon desiring? Moon is desiring frank communication with your spouse. So if moon is in first house, you are a Sagittarius native, what do you need from your spouse? You need a frank opinion and open communication with your spouse. No gap of communication, no shyness in communication, no hesitation in communication. Okay, your communication should be like, whatever is there in your mind, you have to say it out, and whatever is there is in your spouse's mind, they have to say it out. The moment you both start filtering your mind and showing how things are with you inside and outside, the relation won't work. Okay, so always remember, Sagittarius native, moon in the first house, you need a frank, good communication with your spouse. If you are getting it, okay, the relation is going well. If you are not getting it, there is a troublesome situation over there. Okay, now see the 4th house from the 9th house. The 4th house from the 9th house will be 9, 10, 11, 12, that is Pisces. Now Pisces being in the 4th house, lorded by Jupiter, is sometimes going to isolate you in your home. Okay, so it is giving you some kind of isolation, or say solitude, and recharging in your house. So whenever this situation is there, your mind always recharges in your house, in a lonely place, okay, where you sit alone, where you think about your past, present and future. That is where you feel recharged, okay, and you feel exhausted when you go outside and become an extrovert. So usually moon in first house, Sagittarius natives do not prefer to be a lot of extrovert person, and if they go out, okay, they usually want that whenever they come home, they recharge. So mental recharging takes place in a solitude place in their home, especially on the dining table, especially on the sofa, especially on the ground. But if you are staying at home, there is less likely that you have some mental disorders. Okay, you don't have any mental disorder, you just like to stay at your own small little place. It gives you mental peace and harmony. Okay, not a problem. Now talking about the 8th house, the 8th house from the 9th house is going to be Cancer, and it is going to be very, very good. But since it is the 8th house from the situation of your moon, you might have some quarrels with your mother regarding your core values, your ethics. There must be a dilemma or change in the values of or belief of your and your mother's belief system. Okay, it might also be possible that your religious beliefs are different. Okay, you might be worshipping some another devata, another deity, and she might be worshipping someone else. There might be some cultural differences. Your mother might be of a different caste, your mother might be of a different culture, she might be of somewhere else, not the native place from where you belong. Okay, so there might be some cultural differences or differences in values and core beliefs of you and your mother, which might not be a problem until and unless you try to superimpose your own way of thinking and perception on your mother, and your mother tries to superimpose her way of belief system on you. Okay, so what you have to do, you have to keep your mother and yourself in a different area and a different perspective. Do not merge the perspective of you and your mother together. Getting my point? This way you would minimize the conflict between you and your mother. Okay, you might also do fasting on Thursdays for making these things work out, especially with your mother. Fasting on Thursdays and giving food to poor people on Monday. Okay, do this both, and your mother and son, or mother and daughter relation would simply be healed. Now talking about number 10, Capricorn Ascendants. Capricorn Ascendants, Saturn being the first house lord and moon sitting in the house of Saturn is indirect wish yoga. I won't say wish yoga because Saturn is not there, but since it is lorded by Saturn, you might only be saved if your Saturn is in retrograde. Okay, If your Saturn is in retrograde, you are saved. But if your Saturn is not in retrograde, it is in direct, then you are not saved. Even if Saturn is in, let's say, debilitated position, you are still saved. But Saturn being direct, not in its debilitated position, or in such scenario, there might be some sorrow inside your head. Okay, I won't say sorrow, I would say a bit of darkness, because sorrow is related to Aquarius Saturn, whereas Capricorn Saturn is filled of darkness. Okay, so darkness means you are lost. Whenever there is clarity, you have ways. Whenever there is no clarity, you are lost. So this Capricorn Saturn is about lack of clarity. The darkness is about too many questions inside your head. So clarity is even being worse. So what happening is, you are lost from the mind. Your mind is totally lost. It does not know what to do, how to do, when to do, where to do, how to do. Okay, all these questions are wandering in your head. Why? Because the mode of action, the mode of performance is asking you to keep questions inside your head and then solve it, then you act. Okay, so there might be a huge difference between how you are thinking and how you are acting. Okay, so if you are doing something is not related that how you are thinking on it, you might think in a 10 different ways and do things in a totally different 11th way. Okay, so I won't say this is a bad position, but this is a difficult position. Okay, now what is the moon desiring? See, the 7th house from the 10th house, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, it is the 4th house, Cancer. So moon is desiring a lot of emotional stamina, a lot of mental stamina, a lot of clarity, all the things that your moon needs, the stability, calmness, clarity, all these things about your moon, you need it from your spouse. So whatever thing you don't have, you want your spouse to have, specifically in terms of your head. Your mental peace, your mental calmness, your mental clarity, your mental strength, your mental stamina. Okay, all these things you need. Now, who is giving it? That is your 7th house, that is your spouse or partners or relationships, anything like that. So Capricorn Ascendant having Chandra in 1st house demands all these things from the spouse. If the spouse is able to provide it, the relationship is happy and mentally peaceful. If the spouse is not able to provide it, the mental peace in the dynamics of the relationship spoils. So now talking about the 4th house, what is healing your moon? So from all this trouble, where are you finding your little enclosure? Okay, so check the 4th house from the 1st house being Capricorn. That is 10, 11, 12, 1. That is number 1. Now, number 1 is Aries. Aries, having the lordship of Mars, is, as I told you, all about working and hard working. Okay, it is utilizing its internal strength, internal energy into work. Okay, now there is a difference between Shani work and Mars work. Okay, Mars work is all about getting victorious, defeating something, achieving something. So Mars is all about increasing the dopamine levels, and Saturn work is all about increasing serotonin levels, because Saturn work is doing karma and action in order to feel happy, releasing the sorrow. That is Saturn. Okay, so whenever you do Saturnian type work, serotonin increases there. Whenever you do some Martian type work, you increase your dopamine. So when Moon's happy enclosure place is your 4th house, which is ruled by Aries, understand, the dopamine increase is going to give your moon a very big release, a very big relief. So what happens is, so what to do to increase your dopamine? The easiest way to increase your dopamine, there are 2 easy ways. Number 1 is a very easy Mercurian way, is to laugh, watch some comedy movies, watch some jokes. Okay, laugh. the more you laugh, the more dopamine is going to increase. The second thing is also very easy, which is doing some activity. Never be without doing any activity. The moment you stop being in an activity in your life, okay, at that duration you would feel totally brainwashed. Okay, like all your thoughts are vanished. You don't know what thoughts to think and what thoughts to not think. Okay, so in this Aries, either you have to watch comedy things, you have to laugh, or you have to pursue any of the activities you love and keep doing it, and never sit like without doing anything. Always do something, always be active. Do any activity, does not matter whatever it is giving. Even if it is giving you any finance, it is not giving you finance, it is giving you anything. Even if it is does not giving you anything, do color, water trees, water plants, anything. Doing activity increases your dopamine. Now, what is creating a mishap? What kind of mishaps are creating is the 8th house from Moon. So let's see 8th house from Capricorn. Over here, 8th house becomes number 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5, that is Leo. So your father is creating problem for your Your father is creating problem for your mental health. It might be possible that your father and your thinking is completely opposite. Your cultural beliefs are different. I won't use the word cultural belief. Your beliefs regarding the mode of life is different. Your lifestyle beliefs is different. Okay, your father might be loving to live a simple life. You might be loving to live an extravagant life, or it might be reverse. Or your father would be loving to live a responsible and organized life, and you are willing to live an easygoing life. Okay, so the belief system of you and your father would be very different. Okay, so in this case, what to do? In this case, you might wear moon in your third finger or Apollo finger, if and only if your sun is not exalted. If your sun is exalted in Aries, then it means that even sun is giving you good result, and disrupting your sun is like creating havoc for your father in your family. So you have to check the position of your sun before doing this remedy, and if you have sun in exalted position and you can't do this remedy, all you have to do is in the morning you have to wake up as soon as the sun is waking up. Okay, and you have to give water to the sun. Okay, this might solve some difficult situation between you and your father. Now talking about Aquarius ascendants. Aquarius ascendants having moon in the first house. So as I told you, the Aquarius Saturn is different from Capricorn Saturn. Capricorn Saturn is about darkness, but Aquarius Saturn is about sorrow, and this sorrow is very hard to pursue. This sorrow is very hard to ignore. Okay, so what you can do is, first of all, let's see where the moon is, what the moon is wanting. Okay, so moon, 7th house from moon is Leo, and Leo ruled by sun. Now see, moon in the first house, your mind is situated into things that trouble you emotionally, and what you ask from your spouse in return is about I won't use the word contentment. It's not contentment. What you need from your spouse is something that would make you feel whole. okay, which doesn't make you feel incomplete. Okay, that is something you want from your spouse. Okay, your spouse should make you feel complete, whole. Okay, whenever your spouse makes you think incomplete or say incompatible, at that time you start self-doubting yourself, and this self-doubt is going to create a lot of depressive thoughts in your mind. So Aquarius Saturn in the first house might create some depressive thoughts, and your mental health is in some huge problem. Okay, so what to do in order to solve this? In order to solve this, let's see the fourth house from the first house. Fourth house from the first house is 11, 12, 1, 2, that is Taurus. Now Taurus, the Taurus Shukra is all about strength of love. It is not about the emotional aspect of love. It is Libra. The soft corner, sweet romantic love, it is all Libra. Taurus is more about strength of love, emotional support, which gives strength in your love. Okay, so that is Taurus. Whereas Libra Venus is more about romance, flirting, soft cornerness, emotions. Okay, all this emotional drive is coming from Libra Venus. Okay, Taurus Venus is about strength of love, the love that creates emotional strength, emotional binding, emotional support. That is about the Taurus Venus. Okay, so what is going to heal you? Because this is a tough situation for you. First house Moon in Aquarius, it is sorrow in your mind, self-doubt in your mind, depressive thoughts in your mind. And even though if the spouse is not supporting you, first of all, Leo is always going to give you ego clashes. Okay, because Sun either aspecting or the Lord of 7th house or sitting in the 7th house is going to give you ego clashes with your spouse. Now this ego clashes is going to create a very depressive mindset inside you. Okay, you might be feeling very depressive. So what to do is, see, the 4th house is Taurus. You should get emotional support from your spouse or any of your family member inside your home. Okay, now find who is in your family who is giving you a lot of emotional support. The person would be like Taurus. Okay, so what kind of Taurus, what are Taurus kind of people? Taurus kind of people are those who are let's say having a good skin, and they might be having a good physique, they might be feeling very less ill. Okay, and talking about their mindset, they may be someone who does not think about giving support to you when you need it the most. Okay, so look for people in your family who give you emotional support. I'm not saying financial support, I'm not giving physical support, just the emotional support. That person is going to help you in order to remove yourself from that self-doubt and the perception of depression inside your head. Getting my thing? So, or you can also wear Shukra or Venus in your neck if and only if Venus is not debilitated or Venus is not placed in fifth house. Venus should not be debilitated and it should not be placed in the 5th house. Then you can wear your opal in your neck. Okay, and it might reduce your sorrow and depressive thinking. Okay, now what is creating this trouble? See the 8th house. The 8th house is Virgo. Again, Virgo Mercury is different from Gemini Mercury. The Virgo Mercury is all about smartness and critical thinking. Okay, so it's the critical thinking of people that is creating trouble in harmonizing your mind. It is the intellect of people that is creating trouble in understanding what you want. So I won't say that stay away from intellectual people, okay? Rather I would say that filter the intellectual people out and check the position of your Mercury. wherever your Mercury is placed, see the Lord of the house, the dispositor of Mercury. Okay, supposedly the 8th house is Virgo, the Lord is Mercury. Now see where your Mercury is placed and check what is the Lord of that house. Now on the Lord of that house, say for example Mercury is situated in Pisces. So the Lord of the house of Pisces is Jupiter. Now every Thursday, if you donate milk, if you donate any products related to moon, okay, you will have a total relief from all these depressive thoughts and depressive mindset. Okay, so this is a tricky one. You have to find the 8th Lord. From the 8th Lord, you see where the 8th Lord is situated, and see the house where the 8th Lord is situated, and see the Lord of that house. Okay, and on the day of that house, Lord, you have to give food or milk or anything to a poor person. Okay. Yes, you can also see the Tithi Lord to understand it even better, but I would prefer you correct your Vara element rather than Tithi element. We already found out something from our Tithi and we are trying to solve it in our Vara. We found out some knowledge from the water element, but in order to purify that water element, first we are pacifying the fire element, that is Vara. Okay. So this was about 11 number. Now last one, that is Pisces. If you are a Pisces Lagna and Moon is sitting over there, so Jupiter is the Lord of Pisces, and Pisces being in the 7th house. As I told you, Pisces is about the dual nature, okay? So there might be some duality in your mind. First of all, I'm just framing it how to give it to you, okay? Because by duality, I don't mean the dual personality, okay? There is a difference between dual personality and duality in your mind. Dual personality is about changing your personal mode of action, personal behavior in two different manners, okay? But when we are talking about duality, is about your mind is stuck between two things, this or that, okay? So Pisces Moon is always about this or that. You are always confused about this or that. Whatever things either you go in shopping, you will always become confused between this or that. Even if you go to watch a movie, it will be this or that. Even when you are choosing your spouse, it is this or that. You have two people in your life. Okay, so this or that phenomena is never ending. And plus, if Pisces is in the 1st house, Moon is in the 1st house, and there is this or that phenomena, then what happens? Then your mind is continuously indulged into this and that. A continuously indulged mind into this and that or choices does not approve a single thing. मुझे ये चाहिए, फिर लगता है मुझे ये नहीं चाहिए, फिर लगता है मुझे ये चाहिए. So चाहिए नहीं चाहिए, चाहिए नहीं चाहिए, नहीं चाहिए, चाहिए चाहिए नहीं चाहिए, यही होता रहेगा. So this is a duality which the Pisces would create. Now what they want, the 7th house from the 12th house. Okay, so let's see the 7th house from the 12th house is 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Number 6, that is Virgo. Now again, see, as I told you, Mercury in the lordship of 7th house is going to create some communication gaps. So you won't be able to express this or that thinking and this or that behavior to your spouse. Or your spouse is not capable enough or smart enough to understand that you have this or that phenomena in your head. So every time anything is happening, you are going out, it is this or that. Where to go, it is this or that. What to do, it is this or that. How to do is this or that. Where to go is this or that. When to go is this or that. So everything is this or that. Who to select is this or that. Okay, so this or that is going to ruin you. So what to do? Now, it is about your spouse, that we have to check what kind of planetary position your spouse is in. Okay, in that particular position you have to see whether or not you have to accept the guidance or repel the guidance. Otherwise you would be accepting and repelling in a random order, which might not be fruitful for you in the future. Okay, so another thing you demand is time and communication. So if your spouse is giving you a lot of time, like a bunch of time, and you guys talk, it's not about just sex. Okay, you guys talk a lot. Okay, so the more you talk, the more you spend time with each other, the more you get to know each other, the more you will be closer to each other, the more this kind of disturbances from your head will go. But the moment there comes a less time inside your matters, okay, there would be an indulgence of third person, and this will create a lot of problems. Okay, so always be frank, spend time with your spouse. Okay, moving to the 4th house at its Digbal position, where it is situated and sitting very, very happy. So 12th house from the 1st house will be 12, 1, 2, 3, that is 3rd house, again Mercury. So Mercury is your smartness. Over here I would rather explain that why Marana Karak Sthan is what you say, a problem over here. So check, neither of Mercury or Moon should be in the Maran Karak Sthan. Otherwise you would be feeling very suppressive in your expression. You can't express what you are saying. So the self-expression is very, very light. Okay, in order to do a very good release, what you have to do is Pisces Ascendant with Moon in 1st house, you should wear Mercury in your little finger, if and only if Mercury is not debilitated. Okay, in all other circumstances it is okay. But the most important thing in your life is self-expression. The more you self-express, the more things be evened out for you. Getting my point? Now let's see what is bad for you, because this was good. This was the good part hidden in a dilemma. The bad part is 8th house from the Moon, that is 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, that is number 7, Venus. So extreme love is very bad for you. You ruin your mental peace in order to give too much of love. Too much of romance is good, too much of romance is also bad, because it is ruining how your partner watches you. Okay, 7th house Libra is very good, but Libra in the 8th house is you consulting your partner about what they shouldn't do, what they couldn't do. Okay, the no's in your speech should be less. The more no's and couldn't and shouldn't and I won't and I should not is there, the more negative things are there inside your Vani or inside your brain, the more problematic your life would be. The less negative things are there in your Vani, the more positive life would be there. Okay, so this was Moon in 1st house for all zodiacs. Okay, in the next video we'll come and understand Moon in 2nd house with all the zodiac. Okay, thank you very much for joining.